Hey guys, welcome back. Better Than a Let's Play Season 2, Episode 18, MoonQuest. I'm Enigmus, and today, that humming noise you hear in the background is the sweet sound of progress. Courtesy of a viewer tip, we're experimenting with some new machines that should make the process of providing oxygen for ourselves and power on the moon a little bit easier, and I wanted to show this to you guys because it's going to be kind of integral to what I'm doing on the moon. Even though I'm going to bring the plants, I'm going to plant the trees. We've got after we're done this, I got a little secret we're going to unveil. But basically, I received a fantastic tip about using electrolytic separator to separate water into its component parts, those being hydrogen and oxygen. Now, oxygen we need to breathe on the moon. We've determined this, and we've actually still got our oxygen accumulation set up here for that purpose, for loading tanks with oxygen to take to the moon so that we can breathe. But once we get to the moon, we need a way to accumulate oxygen so that we can fill up our tanks and not suffocate after 20 minutes of glee bouncing around on the moon. So we've got this guy's not only generating oxygen, but he's also producing hydrogen that is then sent over to this hydrogen generator, which produces power. So the two things that we needed to address: how do we power our facilities on the moon base, and how do we keep from suffocating? Neat, compact, kind of handily dealt with here. The recipes are not bad, actually. The recipes are fairly straightforward. There's one or two items that we haven't used before, and I think it's just this one, the electrolytic core. You can see it up here as well. Which is, it's materials we've used before. It's an item that we haven't made before, but it uses gold dust or pulverized gold, whatever that you would use. You would use a crusher, I think, in mechanism to make these. I use a pulverizer. I hear skeleton. Whatever options you have in the basic mod pack, I think it's the crusher from mechanism makes the dust for these parts of the recipes. It's not a big deal. And then the enriched alloy that we make, putting iron in the metallurgic infuser with redstone, we've used this quite a few times. So there's nothing crazy going on here. Osmium, gold, and iron. We just reset it. And then it's the same thing. Iron, redstone, and more enriched alloy. That makes the electrolytic separator. And then the hydrogen generator is pretty similar, only instead of redstone, we use steel casings. These are the osmium ingots and the steel ingot. We've made those before. And osmium ingots instead of iron ingots, but the same electrolytic core. So, not a big deal. Not expensive, not difficult to make. I plan on making several, as is my way, because once we get set up, it's not a big deal. The one mistake that I made previously, however, is setting up without giving thought to the people who are using just a plain old MoonQuest pack without anything added. As you can see here, this is all thermal expansion stuff providing water to my machines. This is the pipe coming in from outside connected to the aqueous accumulators, and then going up here and into the machine. That's no good for the people who are using the basic version of the pack because it doesn't have thermal expansion. So this time, I thought ahead of time and did a little experimenting to see what we could come up with using only items available in the pack to produce the exact same kind of system. And what I've got here is your typical infinite water source. It's a 3x3 little pool that I made, 1 block deep, and I put a bucket of water in each corner, and that makes an infinite water source. Then I take a BuildCraft pump, which is this white block here, and a couple of stone fluid pipes, and connect it all together. And then here is the electrolytic separator receiving water from the pump instead of aqueous accumulators, sending the hydrogen that it's making to the hydrogen generator. The generator's making power, and sending that power through these wires to the pump, and around here to the electrolytic separator. So it's a nice compact system. The pump here is actually really, really cheap and easy to make. It's a mining well and a tank, and the tank is just 8 glass blocks, right, around the outside of the crafting grid to make the tank. The mining well is iron ingots, an iron gear, an iron pickaxe, so a bit of iron, but nothing complicated. The iron gear is a stone gear surrounded by iron. The stone gear is a wooden gear surrounded by cobblestone, and the wooden gear is 4 sticks, right? So really, one of the basic BuildCraft recipes is this gear. It's used a lot in BuildCraft stuff, so working through the different tiers shouldn't be a problem. And then you've got this setup that basically runs itself. It powers itself, it's self-contained, and it's producing not only excess power that can use to power other machines, but also the oxygen that we need to breathe. One sort of key tip that we need to think about before we say we're done, we've discussed it, we've described it, is that this system is self-contained and self-powering once it's up and running, but you need to give it a little bit of power to get started. Otherwise, it can't do anything. It doesn't it doesn't start running without power, and it doesn't produce power until it starts running. So we got to give it a little bit of power. And the easiest way is to there it is. I'm looking right at it. Is to get one of these energy cubes like we've made. We've attached it to our power plant and into the hydrogen generator. Wait, that's to charge. You put it in one of these sites, and it'll feed power into the hydrogen generator and allow you to kickstart the generator. The generator will start sending this power out to the other machines in the system. Once the pump is pumping water and the electrolytic separator is producing hydrogen and sending it into the hydrogen generator, then you can actually take this, move it over to the other side, recharge it, take it out, and then the system goes all by itself. So just keep in mind, you'll need an advanced energy cube or one of the little battery things, whatever, to kickstart the system, and then you can leave it alone. Final tip, when it comes to placing, in case I forget, I don't think I will, but just in case I do, don't place these machines anywhere where you plan on spending a lot of time, because they don't stop making noise. They don't ever stop. Now, this super secret special surprise, we're going to come outside where it's not noisy anymore. I told you guys we had to have a reason to be on the moon. We had to come up with some sort of project to make the moon trip more than just going to the moon for the sake of being on the moon. And courtesy, I have to give credit where it's due, courtesy of the Yogscast, even though they don't even realize that they've inspired me to do this, we're going to make an exploding cow factory on the moon. It will be part functional food production and part entertainment. Now, the whole idea is that there's no air on the moon, which means if you find a way to spawn cows on the moon, they will suffocate and die. When something dies on the moon, the loot, instead of just falling neatly onto the ground, goes flying in every which direction, which can be spectacular and humorous at the same time. And then you can gather up that loot, get the meat, get the leather, and never want for steaks and clothing again. So that's going to be one of our central projects on the way. It's going to be simple to set up. It's not going to be this huge ordeal to build or to set up. We might do some other things, and plus we still got the moon base itself that I plan to build. So we're not just going to be going up there and building a cow spawner and then watching them die. Teehee, we're done. But that's going to be one of the central things, just for fun. We're going to make the exploding cow factory. Now, in support of that, what we had to do was, we had to go on an epic quest to get ourselves set up with a cow spawner, a legitimate cow spawner. Now, included with the MoonQuest pack is a mod called Soul Shards that will allow you to create your own spawners. You don't have to spawn in creative mode spawners. You can create your own fully legit, but it's not 100% straightforward. First thing that we needed to do in order to make this happen is we had to find a dungeon, and I had not spent any time in this world looking for dungeons because we've been so busy with other things our time's been occupied. We haven't really had an opportunity. So I had to go around and find a dungeon, which I did. And then we head down into that dungeon and we're looking for spawners. Any kind of monster spawner, doesn't matter. When you break it with this Soul Shards mod installed, you get a crystalline soul essence thing. Probably like, geez, that's here. Crystallized soul essence. And you take 2 of them and you put them on a stick and you get a shadow blade. Alright, so you need 2 and a stick to make a shadow blade, so you're going to have to find a minimum of 2 spawners to make the shadow blade. And then you take another crystallized soul essence, so now we're on the 3rd one. You put it on your hotbar, and then you go and you smack a cow with the shadow blade, and it turns it into a soul shard cow, which I believe if we put soul cage, so with that 4 crystallized soul essences, some obsidian and some iron ingots makes a soul cage. You put the soul cage on the ground, you right click it with your soul shard cow, and that will make a cow spawner, and it will spawn cows. And that's really it. So the recipes aren't complicated. The process for getting the crystallized soul essences isn't confusing or complicated. Just every monster spawner that you break will drop one. Gather up a minimum of 4, 2 to make the sword, 1 to make the soul shard. Like I say, you just put the crystallized soul essence on your hotbar, kill a cow with the shadow blade, and it'll turn into a soul shard cow. If you have the essence on your hotbar and kill anything else with the shadow blade, it will turn into a soul shard for whatever it is that you killed. So if there's all kinds of things going on around you and you only have 1 crystallized soul essence, and you really want that cow spawner, don't kill anything with the shadow blade. Just save it for the cows. And then the 4th crystallized soul essence with 4 iron and 4 obsidian makes the soul cage. So that's how we're going to get cows on the moon, so that we can make our exploding cow factory. Now, previously, if you've been kind of following this whole soul shards thing, there were different tiers to the soul shard. Like, after you created the soul shard, you can see here, soul shard cow, you could keep killing cows, and eventually this thing would increase in tier, and the higher the tier, the more cows it would spawn per period of time. So if you wanted one that spawned like tons and tons and tons of cows, you would have to kill something like 1,000 cows or something. Not really an ideal scenario. This one doesn't seem to increment as you continue to kill more cows. I spent some time cruising around looking for more cows to kill and seeing if it made any difference whatsoever. It doesn't seem to increment, and I haven't put it into a soul cage yet to see how many cows were spawning. So I'm planning on actually having to bring a handful of soul cages and soul shard cows with us, just to make sure we're producing enough cows for the explosion bit to be exciting and amusing. That's the plan. That's the whole shenanigan from top to bottom. We still have more things to gather for the moon. I still have to kind of sit down and get a kind of a little list of exactly what it is I want to bring. I know, for example, now we're going to bring the electrolyte separator and hydrogen generators. We have to figure out how many, what do we need, make sure we got enough to connect it. I will be using aqueous accumulators on the moon, just because I prefer them to pump over an infinite water source. But we've at least examined what we can do if you don't have thermal expansion installed. And then we have to look at the other things that we're going to need, the actual building blocks for our base, because you have to have oxygen sealed things for wires and pipes that are moving in and out. We've got to look at the airlock. We'll probably do some tests with the airlock soon. I don't want to waste time. I don't want to drag this out getting to the moon, but at the same time I don't want to show up and say, oh crap, we forgot this, and this. And also we're dying because we forgot this. So we're going to take our time to do it right, but at the same time, we're going to make sure that we're not wasting time and putting it off for no damn good reason. The rocket awaits. It's sitting there. We have to put our item loader there. But beyond that, it's ready to go. It wants to go to the moon. So we're going to get there. We're absolutely going to get there. if you want to be notified when I add the next video. It'll put us that much closer to the moon. Of course, you can always subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Twitter at Enigmius1 or on Google++ Enigmius1. If you have any comments and feedback, please feel free to leave them below. User tips are fantastic when people just throw out little ideas and hints and things like that as sort of the collaborative sort of thing going on. So if you have some ideas, even if it's outlandish, even if I don't use it, feel free to put it in the comment section. Say, hey, this is a thought that I had, and be part of this whole thing that's going on. It's fantastic. It's fun. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.